And with that, we are live. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Kim, joined by Matt Wyatt. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we're going to be talking about Spider Man Brand New Day, a movie that's it's making a little bit of money. It's pretty successful, Matt, I'd say.
Yeah, just a little small amount of money, just a little bit, little nudge.
Little here and there, but we kid, of course. But as of this stream, this movie is either at a billion or is very close to getting a billion. And it's only been in theaters for one weekend. So
Oh yeah, one weekend, and it's already close to making $1 billion. Basically, I think it like outgross Endgame's opening weekend.
yeah, I mean, it's a good day to be Kevin Feige. It's a good day to be Tom Holland, John Bernthal, and Zendaya. Their bank accounts are just like here to here.
It's a good day for Sony, for Amy Pascal.
That's true. But what we're going to be doing is a spoiler-filled discussion. So this is your formal spoiler warning right here and now. I imagine if you're going to be tuning into the stream, then you will have seen the movie by now. In some cases, many times over. But nonetheless, this is a spoiler warning. We're going to be talking about this movie not exactly in a chronological order. We'll probably jump around, but we'll cover all the big stuff. So if you don't want to know, I have a spoiler free review. Matt has a spoiler free review. Go check out those. But I think, I don't know, maybe I guess the big headline is that the villain of the movie, who was always cloaked in shadow, Matt, that Collins was always telling me it was the worst kept secret that it was Jean Grey. But I mean, I guess maybe I was dumb enough to think, I mean, who else could it have been? But I don't know. Anyway, good on Sadie Sink. I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Honestly, like I think we went over it and talked about that on the Small Zero channel about when we were talking about the trailers that who is Cindy Singh playing, and we all gonna say like, yeah, she's Jean Grey. Even in the second trailer, like it kind of didn't really do a good job of hiding it because you've seen a lot of people getting like mind controlled. Every citizen in the city of New York, people that when Jean Grey's taken over the people's mind and literally taunting Peter Parker, but I mean, yeah, she does come off of starting off being more of an antagonist in the film when you get into the movie, but at the same time, when you see her different side of her angle and her own point of view, her motives, it's really more of the character William Metzger character, the head of the Department of Damage Control. He was mostly the main villain because the Department of Damage Control took her sister away from her, snatched away from her out of nowhere. And you know that with Jean Grey, she's not fully at her best right now. She's just a kid who is just know about her mutation abilities, knowing that she can do mind control anyone. That's all she knows about limits of her powers. Her family rejected the two of them, including her sister, and then they were just basically orphans, and they were just
Mhm.
out in the open. And then her sister was snatched away from her, and her goal was to do whatever it takes to make sure she gets her back, and even if she has to go a far extreme. I mean, this is basically her origin story. And a lot of people wanted to say that oh yeah, she what she did was so unforgiving, blah blah blah. Well, that's kind of what the whole point of her origin story is, that she doesn't have the morals yet. She doesn't know the lessons between right or wrong. Right now, she's really broken at this point, and she hasn't met Charles Xavier. There are no X-Men yet in this universe yet. This is just the start of her journey. And because when you first meet her from Peter's angle, you kind of see her as like, oh God, I hate her so much. I want her to die, especially in the scene itself, which took everybody off guard with the controlling MJ tricking him into thinking that she remembered a Peter Parker. And you see, this is probably like Tom Holland's best performance as Spider-Man in this movie ever. To see that
Yeah.
the devastation that he really wanted to believe that the MJ remembered him from that moment. And then when it was completely hit a curveball and saying, like, hold her, Peter. Oh my God, that scene, you felt his pain. Tom Holland made sure that you feel his pain and like the devastation that he was tricked. And then from his point of view, he see her as the villain, like, oh my God, you asshole. But when you
Yeah.
see a different side of her angle, because Peter, she believes that Peter is working with the Department of Damage Control and that he's getting in the way of getting her sister back. So through her eyes, through her perspective, Peter is the villain. And I love how they were able to tackle the two sides of the story.
Yeah, I was bit hook, line, and sinker. Like as soon as like she was like doing that whole thing in the MJ scene, I did not like this character at all. And then when come to find out she's Jean Grey, I'm like, oh, this makes a lot more sense. And then just I think the movie does a really good job of like kind of starting you off like not liking her, but then kind of doing the 180 of like, I don't like what you did, but I kind of get it at the same time. Because Wexler, I must say, I was not familiar, but man, I do not like that guy. Because like like I thought he was just gonna be like off-brand William Stryker, but I mean, Stryker comes from a personal place. Wexler just kind of sees you just like tools to be used, and we could have a debate on that of which one is worse.
Yeah, he's all like you said before, like he's all about just exploiting people with abilities and just and use it. Because when you see that in the scene when Jean Grey was being strapped into a chair and she was asking, "What is VMAX? What is VMAX?" Then she looks up into that vent and saw the VMAX when it's duct tape onto that vent and feel like, no, that's just the brand of that whole vent. So she was able to put two and two together that this is the same chair that her sister was strapped in and they killed her and extracted her a mutation, and then that just put her far more over the edge. She never really truly understand how powerful she really is because she is an Omega level mutant. There's a lot more to her abilities than what she's thinking, and I thought that her performance with Sadie Sink was absolutely brilliant. I mean, when you get
Yeah.
into the third act, near the end, when Peter was able to allow Jean Grey to get inside her mind, no, his mind and his memory when he was talking to his Aunt May, giving him the moral compass, the whole moral speech, and just showing that showing that Jean Grey never really had a real family, never had really had a mother because her family rejected her, and she got the chance to get a licks of what it really means to have a mother figure in her life. It really came off the more of the trope of the ending, kind of like in the movie Thunderbolts. Remember that
Mm.
scene when Bob when the Thunderbolts crew got into his memories, they were able to get through his mental health and then knowing that he's not alone. And it feels like now it's becoming the new superhero trope in the third act where they had to explore in someone's mind and really help them get through their trauma and their whole grief of loneliness. And I thought they still did it well. I think the scene was very well executed. That got me very emotional.
Yeah, the stuff with VMAX, at first when I saw that, I'm like, is it like a piece of technology? Is it like a weapon of some kind? But no, it's like as soon as you see VMAX on that air vent, it's like, oh no. It's like that part in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 when Rocket learns what happens and then just it's like, well, that's wraps, game over. Like just add one more to the trauma pile. And then it it just all makes sense and it all just kind of falls into place. How like I was thinking to myself on the second viewing, I'm like, well, how are they going to introduce the X-Men into this? Well, they just introduced the X-Men like with Jean Grey, and then the rest are just going to filter in somehow. But I mean, we got that introduced with Jean Grey. We got that Jean Grey character introduced. We then get, and I wanted to ask you about this specifically, the conversation with Peter and Dr. Banner, where he talks about a universal inhibitor, where like you can inhibit certain parts of yourself but not others. Is like that's an interesting thing because in X-Men The Last Stand, you had the vaccine that could stop you from being a mutant. I feel like, and I'm just spitballing here, but this
Mhm.
inhibitor, this universal inhibitor, could lead to the discussion of do the mutants take it and then like just use it, or do they not? And so, there's a lot of seeds being planted. I guess that is my point. Very long-winded,
Well,
I know.
yeah, it also reminds me that they had that inhibitor power dampener that they use in Deadpool and Wolverine to suppress their mutation, their turn off their power. And they did the
Yeah.
same thing in X-Men 97 as well. If you watch the X-Men 97 season 1, they do touch on that the people who used the Sentinel technology was able to use the power dampener to turn off their mutation. Some people might have pointed out some of the major flaws in the movie that Peter was able to make a universal inhibitor out of a 3D printer in his crappy apartment. It's like, how is he able to do that? I mean, I had to really think really long and hard how is that possible. He was not able to get it right the first time, and he was only using some of the resources that Banner made and gave him some input of how to make it an inhibitor. But his inhibitor wasn't working very well. It was overheating. It was he had to wait, he had to figure out for days to how to get this thing to work until MJ was able to correct that and later in the movie, which that made the flaws a little bit more forgiven, if that makes any sense.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. There was like people forget that like Peter Parker's like a really smart character. I just randomly Googled it. He has an estimated IQ of about 250. So it's not impossible in like a superhero world context, but it's interesting. Like that whole conversation was like, you're really planting seeds for like when the X-Men do come around, and like, are we ready to have a conversation like that?
I
And of
mean,
course,
we
it's
and
just
also not well, I wanted to interject for a minute before I forget, and even in the last movie, the No Way Home, 3 Peter Parkers was able to make a magic cure device in a fucking high school science class. Are we really gonna go
right.
far off the whole realism of logic here in the MCU? Peter Parker was able to
That's
make a web
that is a very good
cartridges
point.
in
Yes.
in a school, in a high school science class.
Yeah, or like how Frank has all the tools he needs to like fix his inhibitor because he makes bombs. That was a funny line. Like I love that line so much. Speaking of Frank, let's talk about the Punisher for a second. But man, John Bernthal was really good in this. And I've seen some stuff online as like, well, in the Daredevil universe, he's the most wanted man in New York. Now he's suddenly not. And I'm like, I will plead ignorance on that. I am not fully caught up on Daredevil Born Again. Matt, I know you are. So
Mhm.
was that as big a problem to you?
I could see why it had a little bit of a problem to them if you follow the Daredevil Born Again that he was on the run. And God, I don't want to spoil too much because I know you haven't seen the show. In hiding, and they do touch on a little bit in Punisher One Last Kill. But the whole that One Last Kill special was just about his past caught up with them. That he, well, once there's major consequences when he goes after his target and then it goes back to them. But they don't really fully touch on him being a wanted man. I do understand that, dude. You're going literally out in the open in your truck with a Punisher skull logo, shooting a freaking grenade launcher in broad daylight. Not really smart. We're like, where are the authorities? Where's the police SWAT team? Like, what's going on here? But
The
it's all
wolf is
about
a bit slow
suspenders.
on the draw in the case of the Punisher.
But a lot of people were really concerned before going into No Way Home that, like, how are you going to use the Punisher without watering it down, without undermining his character? But they were able to find a way to make it work, especially when you're putting him in a PG-13 movie.
Yeah, I just like I'm a fan of John Bernthal in general. I think that his stuff in Daredevil season 2, the Netflix show, I thought he was great there. And I love how he was able to take on the Hulk and like how he just like shoots a like he's like shooting at the Hulk. And it just and then really what tides it over, one of my favorite scenes in the movie is after like Peter gets out of the hospital, he puts on Spider-Man's mask and he's like waving at the crowd. I laughed way too hard. Yeah, I thought
That
that was
was
so
so
funny.
that scene had no business of making that work, and it actually did. But with the chemistry with John Bernthal and Tom Holland, you know that they are very close. Even in real life, back in like 10 years ago, even before that, that they did a movie together called Pilgrimage, where Tom Holland plays the best friend. They talk about that in the Hot Ones interview about his story with John Bernthal when he was co-starring together, and John Bernthal is the guy who never speaks. I never seen the movie, but he tells that story. And there's a story that John Bernthal filmed his audition video for Spider-Man, so he basically helped him try to get the role to play Spider-Man. And I thought that and when you watch their interviews together, you know that they're close buddies. They're basically like brothers. And when you see this in the scene in Brand New Day, you know that the chemistry is very authentic.
Yeah, you really can't beat chemistry. And I think what I think a good thing to note about the movie is that you don't really have to know a ton about the Daredevil universe to really fully get Punisher. I think Destin Daniel Cretton did a really good job of making the movie feel like it's a part of the MCU, but also stand alone. So you don't have to like you don't have to be like have to do homework just to understand these people. I
No,
appreciated that.
and that's good. That's the best thing about this, that you don't have to require a homework assignment like, "Oh god, now I have to go watch watch these series, watch the previous movies to really know what's going on in the movie." No, it really does a good job of establishing where Peter was before this. They did a great job in the whole 10-minute prologue of going through his 4 years of being alone, learning how to be devoted to protect the city of New York, and now he's given the keys of the city. And look, we've talked about this millions of times, and we get into a little bit of debate about how many characters they put in the movie, how many Marvel villains, how many Marvel heroes are in a single film. And I've said this a million times, and sometimes I get really exhausted having to remind people every day. It's just, it's not about how many characters you put in the movie. It's about how much that they're going to be used and how much are they serviceable to the main story. As long as you're not adding filler scenes, kind of like they did many times with Spider-Man 3. They did that in The Amazing Spider-Man 2. They even did that in Batman v Superman. They add so many filler scenes that doesn't really add into the main story, and it becomes too much overstuffed, too much going on. But this one, they did not do that. Every of the characters had a servable narrative purpose to the story, and it was executed perfectly. I even love the cop. I love the cop that the actress Liza Colin Zayas from The Bear. They literally took a lot of the elements from the Insomniac Spider-Man game. Because if you watch the first Spider-Man Insomniac, you see that Peter has like has a best friend cop working together, basically like the Jim Gordon figure to Batman in that universe. And they literally took that elements from the Insomniac Spider-Man game. Even the fight scenes and the web swinging sequences. Oh, that was definitely coming straight out of the video
Mm,
game. And they even in the opening when you're seeing the POV shots, him swinging in through New York, it felt like you're with Spider-Man. And we haven't had a perfect web swinging sequence since the Amazing Spider-Man 2, really. We haven't really had that in
mm.
a very, very long time. And I saw this in Dolby Cinema, which now with Marvel putting out when they don't have IMAX screenings, when other films like Doom Part 3 or The Odyssey, they had this so-called Infinity Vision. Basically, it's their version of IMAX. When this movie shot in the whole movie in IMAX cameras, they show you the tall format in Dolby Cinema. They didn't even show you in that 2:9 aspect ratio with the black boxes. They show you the full frame. Because since you can't see it in IMAX, we'll show you in Dolby Cinema called Infinity Vision.
Yeah, it's not just a marketing gimmick, and I think I think something that I appreciate another thing that I appreciated is that really early on, the movie really feels like it feels like it's a part of the MCU, like I mentioned, but it's also very lived in. It feels very New York. Like it's so New York that you even see in that bathhouse scene that in the background, they're watching Men in Black, another movie
I know,
that's
dude.
about
I
New
noticed it.
York
I
really.
was doing that to DiCaprio from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and being like, oh, that
Oh,
was like I noticed the Men in
and
Black
and,
movie
it,
is
and
playing,
it's one of my favorite scenes in that movie where where Will Smith finds the cockroaches and he's like,
and
"Uh oh, was that
he's
your auntie?"
yeah, and he's stomping on the cockroach, and he's stomping on the cockroach. So yeah, that's the scene in the movie. And you notice that in Ned's room, you notice that the Empire Strikes
Mhm.
Back was playing. The Empire Strikes Back is playing because he puts together Lego Star Wars. Like even in the Homecoming trilogy, he was putting together Lego Star Wars, and it's just I love my favorite scene of that whole movie is when Spider-Man, Ned, and MJ were hanging out in the apartment, and Spider-Man and Ned were broing out. He literally had to like bro out all over again now that he does not remember Peter Parker. And I thought this scene, it just felt so emotional. And it just and when you see Peter saying, "Oh, I haven't had this fun in a long, long time in years," and it's just to show you that it just feel like that the whole cast that they feel like more of a family than just cast of members.
If you are referring to the incident with the dragon, was badly involved. I love that. I
The
love that Lord of the
Lord
Rings
of the Rings
reference that they
reference.
did. And then Ned really ordered this man 3 banh mi sandwiches. That sounds like a lot.
And you want to talk about far off the logic of this whole real world BS logic. Somehow Ned was able to create a spider tracker for anyone who's able to track Spider-Man's whereabouts. Like, okay, you want to go far off this whole logic. He created a whole GPS where they could see, show where Spider-Man is in the city. I thought that was pretty
Yeah,
funny.
if I were Spider-Man, I'd be a little concerned. Like that's prime target for hacking right there.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, oh god, I'd be a little concerned too. It's like, oh shit, he's able to track my movements. Holy shit!
But
And that
but
was definitely
on
that
that
was def-
note, that does lead to a good question because at the end credit scene, I don't know if you saw this, Matt. You probably did.
Oh
At
yeah,
the end,
oh
where
yeah, yeah.
see the spider tracker is like Spider-Man nearby, Spider-Man nearby, and it's like completely off the Earth and into space. And I'm like, are we talking about like a Spider-Man from the multiverse? That's got to be what they're implying, right?
My interpretation is since he has not shot Doomsday, I mean he might as well just shot it in the mid credit scene to set up the next movie. My guess is that he is on Battle World and it's setting up Secret Wars because it's not because they're probably following some
Okay.
similar storyline where Spider-Man gets zapped into the battle world by Doctor Doom. They even did that in the animated 1990s Spider-Man series, which you can go and find that episode on Disney Plus. It was a great episode, and basically he has to recruit some of the heroes to fight alongside with them a team to fight this whole secret wars, this whole multiverse thing. And that's definitely my guess that that's what where he's at right now. That it's clearly hinting that he got zapped into the battle world that Doctor Doom created.
I did not consider that. I was thinking, I was thinking because of the whole plot element of like like Peter getting more and more spider-like because of like the arachnid hormones rising, and then in certain moments in battle, like his eyes going black. I for like a very hot second was like, "There's no way they're doing Venom, right?" And I don't believe that they are. I mean, I don't think the MCU is going to be touching Venom anytime soon.
But one thing I will say that in Secret Wars, they even Tom Holland is teasing the possibility of him being in the symbiote. They probably might follow the same storyline from the Secret Wars, where he actually becomes the symbiote Spider-Man in the Battle World.
Interesting.
Yep.
It certainly remains to be seen, but I just there were some people who were disappointed by the scene, and I'm like, I think we need to see where they're going with this because like maybe I'm just coming down from the high of just a really good MCU movie, which is the first time in a really long time for me. But I just saw that I'm like, I have a feeling they're setting up something. I need to see more. I guess that's my statement on things.
Yeah. Some of the scenes that really stood out to me is when now MJ saw the letter from Peter,
Mm.
and it really just took everybody off guard after their whole Hulk fight scenes when he goes back to Frank Castle's hideout. Yeah, that was unexpected that he left that note there. And now she's like, "Hey, take that mask off. I want to talk to the person who wrote this letter, Peter Parker." Holy crap. Now she was able to put two and two together. She remembers the day that they first met at the donut shop. And now she was pissed off at him that why did you tell me this sooner? Like why would you take that choices away from me and not let me decide for myself? Like, yeah, I know you're trying to protect me, but I've been in danger for the past 24 hours. I don't think you're doing a very good job doing
Yeah.
protecting me. I thought that scene itself, that the performance was like, oh my god, that was so great. I loved it. And even in the scene when she's saying that, hey, the spell worked. I don't love you because I don't know you. And I thought that, like, it just shows you that the MJ that you know is pretty much gone.
Yeah. What I wanted to ask now that I have you on is, do you think because again the theory I ran across a theory that at the very end where after everything's gone down, like the Roosevelt Island thing has happened, they've all gone their separate ways. MJ was holding the necklace that Peter had given her at, I think, I can't remember which movie, but I think the theory says that like Jean unlocked the memories of Ned, like a lot of Ned and MJ. So I'm thinking that Peter and MJ may not be completely off the table yet.
I was thinking about the same thing too when I first saw the movie, but then I had a lot to think about, and people were coming up with some of the theories, and it may not be far off. But at the end of the day, it probably I don't think Jean Grey can really break Doctor Strange's spell because she may be a mutant, but I don't think she can break the magic spell. I think that doesn't work that way. But I could be completely wrong about this, but I think that the ending was done on purpose because if you really think about it, this movie kind of felt like it could have been made as an A24 movie because the ending, it's really up for a million's interpretation of how they see the scene until you see where it goes next. We're all just now theorizing this whole scene in the movie, but what you brought up about her holding on the Black Dahlia necklace that Peter gave her in Far From Home. If you look back at the end of No Way Home, when she lost her memory, she was still wearing that Black Dahlia necklace. Even at the earlier in the movie, she was still wearing the same necklace at the party. If you go back and watch that scene again, so she was still holding on to it, but she doesn't know what it's meant for. I think that's how I see that scene. And then in the scene in the coffee in this whole I believe in the coffee shop or wherever Ned was, that when Peter gave him the handshake, if someone brought that up earlier in the spoiler discussion in the other video that Ned was using the same type of handshake to another person from college in the opening of the film. I didn't notice it until someone brought that up and I had to watch it and pay close attention. And then when you see Spider-Man like swinging off, like MJ says, Peter, be careful, right in front of Ned. And he was like, Peter's Spider-Man? What? And then he says, like, oh yeah, you're the stranger dude at the party. And why is this guy giving me my secret my handshake thing? And he started putting two and two together. You're Peter, so that means you're Spider-Man. But who knows? I can be completely wrong. And that's the beauty about the scene in the movie that it's up for a million interpretation. And until we figure out where it goes, we'll never know until we see the next movie.
Right. And I think I think another interesting little tidbit going back to New York is just how like lived in it feels. You get these cameos, like some more than others. You get Tombstone, you get a couple others. I did appreciate they gave Scorpion. Maybe it's just because I'm a huge fan of Michael Mondo. I don't know, but I'm glad they got Scorpion back to give him something to do. And just there's a really great mystery for like the first third or first half of this that I really liked.
Yeah, I mean, they basically waited 10 years for Scorpion to even show up at some point in the MCU. It was like, wow, it's crazy that it's been nearly 10 years since we last saw Scorpion, and now we finally give him a little bit more to do in the movie. And luckily that he didn't just sit there and just have a cameo, just show up and leave. He had a few scenes with him, and then and the second time they fought, he was controlled by Jean Grey. And I thought that scene was completely unexpected that I did not see coming. And this whole mutation this whole transformation, the changes that Peter's going through, the reason why it's happening this way is because his identity. It's all about more of his identity now that everybody has forgotten about Peter Parker, and he's leaning to more towards of being the Spider-Man and not being Peter Parker. He's not really living the life that he wanted. He's very more devoted to being Spider-Man. It's basically him going through a lot of existential crisis. It kind of borrowed some of the elements from Spider-Man 2, basically, from Sam Raimi. Except for losing his power, it's just that he's now evolving and becoming a little bit more powerful than he is anticipated, and he wants to suppress the monster that is in because when if he loses control, then he stops pulling his punches and he becomes a monster and they definitely and Tom Holland mentioned this in the interview in a podcast called Happy Sad Confused that they had a nightmare sequences of him transforming into a man spider, basically taking the elements from the animated series from the 1990s Spider-Man. And if you're like, and the people at Marvel and Sony is like, oh, I don't think we should put that in the movie because kids are coming to see this movie. So people, they don't want to scar these kids for life for showing them in the creature disturbing as a man spider.
Yeah, that's what the deleted scenes are for, am I right?
I don't know if they shot it. I mean, they might have shot that scenes. I don't know for sure. But I think that in the pitch that they were talking about doing something like that.
Yeah, but I loved the combat. I loved the action scenes. I loved the Scorpion battle where we see his eyes turn black for the first time. I love the ending where he takes on the hand, which shout out to the hand. Like they showed up. Like like they were pretty scary. And then just like that whole thing where it's like, are you Spider-Man or are you Peter Parker? I'm both, and snaps the sword in half. I'm just like, oh, we are in for it now, and just
Basically, he's
he.
pulling the Neo from the Matrix to Reloaded style.
That's what I
I
was
even post that
thinking.
I posted that video comparison of the Matrix and the Spider-Man Brand New Day sequences that they did on my Instagram reel, and I was like, "Oh god, it's so pretty much similar." I loved it. I thought that was good, but the hand they were mostly being controlled by Jean Grey because he's talking through the hand through Jean Grey, and I thought that was great. And I was always wondering, like, how does the hand play into this? Is Daredevil going to show up? No, they were able to address of why they're in the movie and what's their purpose is that they are the group of ninjas with no master and they don't have a purpose without a master they have no purpose. So the head of the department of damage control was able to take them in and we can just use them to serve a purpose and rehabilitate their lives. So that's why now they're working for us. And I thought like, okay, now that makes perfect sense. And I love when Tom Holland gives his performance in a Spidey outfit, when it's not just using CGI or performance capture, it's all impractical. I love the vibrant of the texture of the suit. It just looks so beautiful that this is actually more of a handmade suit instead of just wearing some CG suit.
Hmm. Yeah, I loved how there was a lot of practical sets too. Like I could tell that there were a lot of practical like sets, like you could reach out and like touch like the cars being destroyed and people actually being loaded into ambulances. And there was some CGI. I mean, you couldn't do
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Hulk battle practically, which
No,
speaking of that Hulk battle, that's
Hulk.
like
Oh my
that was
god.
so awesome. Like Hulk's back took him long enough, but it was
Yep.
so cool.
Gene was able to break that whole Bruce Banner thing mentally and bring out the monster raging Hulk and just broke it. So that means he doesn't have full control over himself in his transformation. They finally got rid of the whole Professor Hulk thing. We've always been waiting for that for years, and they found a way to how are you going to bring that back? How are you going to bring the raging Hulk back? Well, Jean Grey was able to try to control him, but every time she tries to, she gets a complete migraine where the monster is now taking over. It's like, no more better, more Hulk. I was like, at first, when we see Professor Hulk getting controlled by Jean Grey, I was like, did the trailer just misled us with the Raging Hulk? But then after the whole barrier gets broken and now he's transformed, it's like, okay, now it's starting to bring that up. And I thought that scene was great. But the one thing that you address about them getting be able to remember Peter, the moment we know that the Hulk, we know that Spider-Man is knowing how he can stand against the Hulk. He can be able to get a few licks in him, but the Hulk is an indestructible character.
Yeah.
Even the scene with the Punisher trying to take on the Hulk and try to assist Peter's help. It's like, dude, this is above your pay grade, dude. Even for myself, it's like, what are you gonna do? Tickle him to death?
I loved that. That was such a funny line, but it's true. I mean, Punisher's awesome, but like he all he has is like his guns.
Like,
So
I'm sorry, your guts was just more gonna be more of a tickle or a mosquito bites, basically.
yeah,
There's no way
you're
no.
just a nuisance at that point. But I loved the no banner, no girl, only Hulk. Like I loved that. I loved the homage to the first Avengers where he slams Spider-Man down. I whispered to myself,
Oh, that
"Oh
scene was not
God,
shown in the trailer. I forgot that they were just like he's just slamming him, doing that Loki 2.0, slamming him like a rag doll.
puny God."
There's one person in the comments saying like, "Oh, they didn't show much of the Hulk. All that was shown in the trailer." Well, then you clearly didn't watch the movie because I feel like they showed a lot of stuff that wasn't shown in the trailer. So, but I will say that at the end of that fight, what you brought up about some of the people were able to remember him because of the whole barrier that Jean Grey was able to break from that spell. I mean, I still don't believe it, but there was one scene where when Peter was able to call out his own name and able to get through to Bruce, Hulk basically stopped, and it just shows you like, oh my god, is the Hulk actually is the Hulk himself remembers Peter, and because remember, he shut the Hulk down for a very long time. Maybe that now that the Hulk got out, maybe the Hulk actually remembers Peter. I mean, that's crazy how they were able to put that scene. And if you notice throughout the whole movie where you see like Peter's goggles, you can be able to see through Tom Holland's eyes if you really
Yeah,
pay close attention. I saw that a few times in that whole movie.
I saw it multiple times, and I loved like where like Hulk had like his hand like here, and feet is like Dr. Banner, it's Peter, it's Peter, and like he didn't say Spider Man, he said Peter, and like Hulk just looked at him, looked at the mirror, and was like, oh man, I'm making a mistake. And then he just kind of lets himself, because spider webs all around him, a whole bunch of building wreckage behind him, pulling him back, and he just kind of like lets it go. Kind of reminds me of the first Avengers movie, where it's that the one fight in the lab, and then like Dr. Banner's like, you don't believe that I've tried, like talking about how he just off himself, like he tried
Yeah.
and like you wouldn't let him.
Yeah, he tried to off himself. He tried to shoot himself in the mouth, and the Hulk spit the bullets out.
Yeah.
It shows you that he is an indestructible character, and yeah, and I believe if I remember correctly that he got into this psych ward. I don't know if the Department of Damage Control was the one that brought him in, or maybe he voluntarily got into himself in the psych ward now that he doesn't have control over the Hulk anymore. And I don't know. I mean, I gotta watch that again and really pay close attention to that scene. What else? What I'm trying to miss? What am I? Now I'm just blanking what I'm trying to bring up. But you go on.
Well, it is to your point. It is interesting. Like in the next one, I guess we'll find out, or maybe even as soon as Doomsday. We don't know.
Hmm.
All that we do know is that like Hulk is on ice pretty much, and it's gonna be interesting because part of me wants to say he voluntarily turned himself in, but at the same time, we learned that damage control pretty much has countermeasures for pretty much every hero and mutant and meta-human, for lack of a better term. Like they had stuff for Spider-Man, they had more than a few stuff for Jean Grey and her sister, so we don't
Hmm.
know like what they're sitting on.
The one thing that I was very surprised that would see another Marvel cameo, Yelena in that whole bathtub scene. That that took me completely off guard. That scene, it did feel a little bit random at first when he was meeting Yelena for the first time to get some a little bit of information about this whole mind control thing and all that stuff. And I thought that scene was good. It's like, hey, we're the new Avengers. Well, we're the big, but we handle the big potato. You're like the small potato.
Small potato.
I was like, okay, sorry, dude, but I love you, Yelena, but this is Spider-Man you're talking about. You think
Yeah,
he's not capable of handling big threats? Motherfucker went to space, motherfucker. You realize that this is Spider-Man who's more powerful than you that can take your ass on. I don't care how much of a fighting experience you may have. The Spider-Man will kick your ass. No
yeah,
offense.
you don't get to big league Spider-Man. Like he took on Thanos. Like back up just a second.
He was able to fight alongside with the Avengers and take on the whole Shatari army. It's like, I'm sorry, but
E-
what are you talking about?
Exactly. And I think too, like I did like that scene as well. It was funny. I like the follow up later on where Elena's like, "I'm just happy sad man has friends now."
That
it was
scene cracked me up.
funny delivery, but I could tell that it was kind of coming from a good place. I have a feeling that she kind of cares, so
Yeah.
it's nice to see that.
Oh yeah. And one thing I wanted to address, I mean, and it might be a minor nitpick. When we see him in the opening of the movie of him going around saving people in the city, all of his stuff that he's getting, what's his? They didn't even address what his day job is. Where is he getting the money? How is he paying the rent? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe I
yeah.
missed it.
Collins was asking me that same thing the other day, and I just randomly Googled it. And is like, it seems like the theory going around is that like he has side gigs that like pay him quite a bit, or maybe he's still on the Stark Industries payroll. It's never really made clear.
I know that's one thing that a little bugged me. Like, how's he getting the 3D printer? How is he able to afford a computer monitor? How is he keeping up with the rent? Rent? Rent?
Not to mention I mean, I guess Little Caesars isn't that expensive, but I mean,
I
like
mean, it's like
every
how
day.
much is it now? Like $6 or $10 or something? I don't know. I mean, it used to be $5 for a pizza for Little Caesars, and that was a heavy product placement because Little Caesar was promoting Brand New Day.
I also saw a Takis ad a couple times.
He has, and also he has a treadmill. I mean, yeah, he was able to have protein shake and a treadmill to do his little home workout. That's how he's able to stay in shape the way he is. At least he didn't get overweight, like kind of like the Peter B. Parker from Into the Spider Verse, where he eats nothing but pizza. Gets a little dad bod here.
Also, he stretches. He's like he's not in high school anymore.
It's like, I'm not in high school anymore. But did you know that Jackie Chan and his stunt team were the ones that helped coordinate the stunt work in the movie too? He came on set too.
That does not surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all.
I even shared this on an Instagram reel on the rooftop when he was fighting a bunch of ghouls on the rooftop in the opening of the movie. At first, I thought it was kind of like a CG thing. No, it was actually done very practical. It might have been Tom Holland doing the stunts, or it might have been a stunt double. It was never very clear. But no, that scene itself, even though it was on green screens, but the fight scenes were flipping around and doing punches and shit. That was practical fight. I was like, oh god, that just shows you
Yeah.
how awesome this movie is. How much I appreciate this movie more and more. I even love when they roll the credits and when they did the principal photography, even though that the movie was not shot in New York, when they did principal photography, they shoot the scenery of New York, making it as a living, breathing city. And I just, oh god, it was such a breath of fresh air. Even some of the song choices was really good. It didn't feel like it was out of place. I kind of like the song choices in this movie than I kind of did in the previous Homecoming movies.
Yes, I agree. And I think to kind of wrap things up, I think it seems like the consensus is that this is the best solo MCU Spider-Man film. I think I like No Way Home just a little bit more, but
Yeah.
it's a really tight race for me.
Yeah, because I brought this up in my non-spoiler review of why I still think that for me, and this is just my opinion, I think that No Way Home is my favorite Spider-Man movie. But even though that No Way Home has more that Tom Holland's the main character of the film, but at the same time, No Way Home is way more of a culmination of a legacy Spidey film than a Tom Holland Spider-Man adventure. This movie, Brand New Day, is a true standalone adventure for Tom Holland, where it's no legacy characters, there's no multiverse crossover. It's really a truly a standalone movie with Tom Holland. And I do agree with you that this is literally the best Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. We finally get a chance to see him be at his best. We see him get to be their friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for the first time because the three movies of the Homecoming trilogy was literally more of an origin story that was spread out into three films where he was mostly a trainee in for the Homecoming movies.
Yes. It seemed like all the complaints that I see in the other Homecoming movies were not present here. Like with Homecoming, it was like, oh, he's just Tony Stark Jr. Tony Stark is not in this one. Far From Home is like, oh, well, they're just traveling all over the place. It's in New York. Like No Way Home is like, oh, it's just a nostalgia movie. There are no other Spider-Men here. There's one reference of Tobey Maguire's
Oh,
Spider-Man very
the
briefly.
organic web shooters when he was learning when he's I forgot to mention like yeah
Yeah.
like Peter too had an organic web shooters. That was cool. I was like perfect. They didn't need to use any stock footage from the No Way Home. They didn't have to use that cheap edited crap. No, they acknowledged that hey, Peter too had an organic web shooters. Cool. And to see him getting that coming that out of his wrist, he was like ugh, ugh, ugh. I laughed. I thought he was gonna do that from Sam Raimi Spider-Man 1 when Toby was learning how to use like go web,
Go
fly,
fly.
I'm up and away. That
My
was
friend
so
and
good.
I, when we were watching it in the theater together, we looked at each other. We were like, "That's a nice reference."
I was like, that's a
It,
nice reference. When
go
Peter
Red,
was
go!
saving, and then also when Peter was saving the helicopter, someone brought that up that it kind of felt like a little bit of a throwback to the first teaser trailer from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie when he saves the
Oh,
helicopter in New York near the Twin Towers. If you see the unaired teaser trailer for Spider-Man 1. And I didn't think
yeah.
about that. And then looking back on it, I was like, oh yeah, that definitely felt like a little bit of a throwback.
You know what? I sort of picked up on that. I was thinking to myself, "Is this a deliberate choice or is it not?" I don't know. But I mean, when I saw that helicopter like stuck there, I'm like, Destin definitely is digging into the lore.
And yeah, and now with this movie, finally that we get to see him truly struggle. They did a great job of him struggling of how to live his life without anyone remembering him, struggling through his grief of the loss of Aunt May. and just process and learning how to take responsibility for his gifts all on his own. And in the whole thing and about the whole core of the films, that even though you're doing this all solo, but you don't always have to do things alone. You can always have people helping you through your hard times. And that like kind of like I said before, that it felt like a little bit of a throwback to Thunderbolts elements from that movie. And I thought that how they did it was very well done. I mean, it just felt so much deep when you watch the film. And him sacrificing himself when he was getting shot by the Punisher, when he was taking a bullet for Jean Grey, that just shows you that he is the very selfless character in that movie. When he was learning the lessons from the other Peter Parkers from the previous Spider-Man, that even though you want revenge, but you got to be more selfless and be the bitter man. That revenge was not going to take your pain away, because he learned, because he was taught, getting through to Jean Grey, that revenge is not going to help you. It will not take your pain away. He that was the lessons that he learned from Toby's Peter to Andrew's Peter. I thought that was a great parallel and a great like how they were able to impact that story. And I thought that was so like really so damn good. I mean, I loved it. And really and then when you see like Frank in a hospital bed near Peter, he was crying. Like this is the first
Mm,
time because from Frank's point of view, he sees more of the worst in people, that not all people are good. And that is seeing him being more selfless, that just gives him a bit of hope that there's still good people in this world.
yes, couldn't agree more. And I think to close things out, I guess the point I was trying to get at is that, like, this is the first Holland Spider-Man movie without really any of the bells and whistles. That he is by himself, and he not by himself. Like he's got Punisher and he's got the other connections, but in terms of grand scheme, like he's got to figure it out on his own. Kind of similar to what Destin Daniel Cretton and that team have to do, and I feel like they succeeded. And I think I still like No Way Home just a little bit more, but at the
Mhm.
same time, it's kind of like a tied for first situation
Oh,
with
yeah.
me.
I completely agree. It's definitely a
Move
tie
the
because I brought this up before, because I already brought this up again, and then yeah. So No Way Home was way heavily more on the culmination of the legacy Spidey films, and that
yes,
felt, it didn't feel a true Tom Holland's standalone adventure. This is the first time now you get this movie, and it's definitely, for me, I gave this movie a 10 out of 10. I thought this was a perfect Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. And the more I need to watch it a few more times to really give my official ranking, but I'm not quite ready to say it yet, because I've only seen a
right.
movie once, and I just need a little bit few more months to really digest and see it, and see if I still feel the same way. If I rank this as a, maybe in my top 3 or top 5 or something. I don't know. It's very hard.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. What did you all think of Spider-Man Brand New Day? What was your favorite moment? Let us know in the comments. Love to read what you have to say. Matt, thank you so much for talking about this with me. Tell the people where they can find you.
You can find my YouTube channel at Matt Wyatt 92. Like I've already brought up that I put up my non-spoiler review for Brand New Day. I put up a bunch of trailer reactions to like the Lanterns series, Clayface, and so on and the Resident Evil. You can definitely check that out and check out my full review of the Odyssey. And yeah, that's about it. But I mean, I recently put up the for the X-Men 97 season 1 episode 7 and 8 that Jake and I did on the Small Zero channel. Definitely go onto that channel and going to give that subscribe. We will continue to keep doing the live show weekly, and we'll be continuing on to do the Talking Gotham.
Yep. Uh, go check out Matt's channel. Go check out Small Zero. We're live every Friday. Talk about the latest movie news, weekend box office, the whole nine. So thank you, Matt, for joining me for this, and thank you all so much for watching. My name is Ryan Cam. I'll see you all in the next one. You all have a good night.